Welcome to Sister Scoop, where we are covering the top 3 Marvel news topics of the week. This week we had SDCC, and that means we had Hall H as well. And it was kind of light, actually, in all of the announcements, but ironically, it gave us 3 announcements to have for Sister Scoop. So instead of running through a ton, we will go a little bit deeper into the big 3 of all of them, or of the panel, if you will. The first, and probably the one I don't think most people were expecting until an hour before, if you saw that kind of semi leak on the internet, is that Ryan Gosling is going to be our Ghost Rider coming out in 2028.
Yeah, this was super exciting. I know we've covered that he had expressed interest in this role previously. He and the guy from, I'm forgetting his name, but the guy from Happy Sad Confused have been like campaigning for this. So it was cool to see that come to fruition. I think he's going to absolutely just kill the role. He's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling's an incredible actor. He's on a kind of generational run. I know people definitely agree with that. I've seen that everywhere online. I think this is going to be the next one in a good run. So I'm really excited about this. I also hope that this means that we are going to get a Midnight Suns and find a way to bring Blade in, even if that's his first appearance, and then maybe try to rework a solo film later on, since Kevin's pretty much said that that's dead in the water. So I'm hoping that he'll get a little momentum coming out of Midnight Suns and we can see Blade as well.
Yeah, and I do just want to add, and like I said, this is probably going to be pretty quick just to run through some of the big ones, but Ryan approached Kevin with it and was like, I have the movie. Like, I have what I want to do with this character. Can we do it? Essentially. And I think, especially Ryan Gosling, when he hyper fixates on like pretty much anything, it's magical. And we've seen that with a lot of the movies he's been in recently. I mean, obviously, he was in the Barbie movie as Ken, and he was phenomenal in that. He was just in Project Hail Mary, which I actually just watched that the other night. Absolutely amazing. Great performance on him. I'm crying over a rock alien. Like, it was a very, like, I just can't even begin to get into that movie. So I'm excited for this. This is awesome news. And I really, honestly, I just can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun, and I hope that this one actually gets made.
Yeah. I feel more passionate that it will. I feel better.
Yeah, I think they've
Yeah.
learned their mistakes or they've learned their lesson from Blade, and now I feel like they're only going to announce movies that they feel confident that they can actually get off the ground.
Yeah. I agree. Speaking of movies getting off the ground, we've been talking about Black Panther 3 for a couple months, maybe up. Yeah, okay, maybe a couple months. And we've had a couple different announcements with it. During Hall H, we actually, I think, got probably the biggest news from it, which is one, the release date, but also two, we have a new Black Panther.
Yes, so starting off with the release date, we will be seeing Black Panther in theaters on December 15th, 2028, which, if you're counting your movies for 2028, brings us to a total of likely three. We didn't get any X-Men news coming out of the panel, but that has heavily been rumored to be coming out in 2028, likely the first film coming out of Secret Wars. So that plus Ghost Rider and now Black Panther gives us a likely three-movie year for 2028. But obviously, the bigger news is the new Black Panther, which is not a recast. You can usually loosely use the term recast in the sense that, we have a new Black Panther, but it is actually T'Challa Jr., who will be aged up, played by David Johnson. So this is super interesting. The last time we saw him, he was probably like 7. Granted, there's been some time since then, since that movie up to, Doomsday and Secret Wars, but we're definitely going to have to do another time jump in order to make him, the appropriate age for David Johnson to play the character. So super interesting, but I like the way that they did this. I know I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about, everything with Black Panther and
Yeah,
moving forward, after Chadwick. But I think this is probably the most respectful way to do it. You can still tell, stories with T'Challa without making it a recast. And I know a lot of people have talked about it being more about, legacy than a recast, which I think is a really good framing for it.
for
So
sure.
not that my opinion is the end all be all, but I feel good about this. And I'm really excited for the film. I know it's just absolutely going to be amazing and it's in good hands.
Yeah, and I just have to say it's a win for the end credit community, because I feel like those of us who are really big fans of the end credits and still, look at them as Bible, I think, this is one that they did leave hanging. Obviously, we haven't had another Black Panther property since Black Panther 2. And that was already 4 years ago, if you can believe that. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
That's insane. And that's why I've initially T was like, we need a massive time jump. I'm like, we do, but it's also already been 4 years though. Like that's insane to think about. So,
Yeah.
we obviously had that as an end credit scene and they knew the direction that they clearly wanted to go. And I also think this is the beauty of sometimes having a director who does the entire trilogy. He was
Yeah.
able to kind of, and I assume he probably already had the vision going of what he would have wanted to do next. He had a movie written for T'Challa, for Chadwick, and obviously had to undo everything he'd done, but he really did a great job in setting up what he could do next for Black Panther 3 and the direction they could eventually take it. So I'm just happy too that we're going to kind of have an end credit that we know we've been teased to actually come to fruition and continue to be able to tell stories of T'Challa, of Black Panther. So I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this has been one of the most consistently incredible franchises within the MCU. Not, the least of which is because of Ryan Coogler. So I have all the faith in the world that this movie is going to be just as well done, as poignant, and as meaningful as the first two. And I think that, I haven't seen anything that David Johnson's been in, but a lot of people who have talked about, his filmography has said that he's quite talented. So that gives
Mm-hmm.
me a lot of confidence as well. And I know a lot of the conversation has been that Ryan's not going to pick someone who is not going to be able to lead the franchise, in a really successful way. So again, like the confidence level here is super high, like zero doubts. It's going to be a great movie.
Yeah. Let's talk about the next great movie, which is Doomsday. Hall H did provide us some more footage of the movie, which I think kind of gives a little bit different of a tone than the first trailer gave us.
Yeah, it's super interesting. This most recent trailer, which has leaked online, I don't know if it's been taken down yet, but I know we were able to watch it. I mean, we were not in Hall H, but we were able to watch some of the leaks like right after the panel. But I think it's this one sheds a little bit more light on his relationship with the Fantastic Four and their history and things like that. So definitely interesting. I know a lot of people, or at least some people online, have been saying that this was actually better than the trailer that they released. I agree. I think it kind of
Yeah.
speaks a little bit more to the tone of the film potentially. Um, I hope that they do release this as well so that we can see it not, grainy and blurry, but very excited to see this. I think it's, well, let me say it this way. I think it has made me more excited for the film than the trailer did. The trailer was cool, gave me chills, but like this footage, I think, starts to connect some of those dots that were not really connected, I think, in the officially released trailer from last week.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think it's a tone shift a little bit as well. And it's not the same focus, I think, on the heroes the way that first one was. The heroes are like, okay, here are the people who got their chairs, right? We did the announcement last summer, we saw it. Here are all of those cast members, they're here. I like that we had, to your point, more of that doom focus with the Fantastic Four. And obviously, we're not going to go into, like, you could probably find online. You could also probably at least find somebody summarizing it down to the nitty gritty of exactly like in this exact part and then the next part. We're not going to go into that because we don't want to be the ones that break it like that. If you are trying to avoid it, try to avoid it further. And like, we don't want to do that to people. But it definitely does go into that relationship, which I think we needed because I think there's been a lot of questions regarding. We didn't get it in Fantastic Four, right? Like that's what we really thought was going to blow open the Doomsday stuff. And other than the final end credit, we really didn't get too much of it. So I think it really connected the dots, and it makes me excited because I think I'm less and less sure of what this movie is going to be like, and that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll also be interested if I know there's been a lot of talk about the trailer that's going to be before Spider-Man this week. So I'll be
Mhm.
curious if this is the version. It sounds like it's going to be a new one, but I'm
It
curious if
does.
new means like the SDCC version that was not widely viewed or yet another version of this trailer that has not been viewed by anybody. My gut says it's going to be the SDCC version and that those in the room just got, almost a week preview on it.
Yeah.
So maybe, by the time this is out, some of you will have seen the SDCC trailer, including us. You never know. Again, maybe it's like a whole different version. Not sure.
Yeah. We have no clue. But we will stick around the same way you guys will, looking for Doomsday footage as it's dropped by Marvel. And that really has been the big stuff out of Hall H this past weekend. I think people were expecting a little bit more, and there wasn't as much as I think people hoped, us
No
included.
X-Men, which was crazy.
Yeah, no X-Men was a really crazy pull. Definitely not something I think anybody expected, because we have, to T's point earlier in the episode, we have talked about, there's a director, there's things like that, there's castings happening. So it's definitely kind of interesting that we didn't get anything X-Men related. D23 is coming up, though. There is the possibility that they held some of their announcements for a more Disney specific event. So as that's coming up, we will not be at D23, but as always, we will cover it. And that has been this week's Sister Scoop. Make sure you guys are joining us again next week as we take on 3 more Marvel news topics. And of course, on the podcast side, as we're covering X-Men 97. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.